Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us on this JTV Live where we're dealing with some breaking news right now. As ever, please do comment in the chat box and I'll try to get to your comments later on in the live stream. But I have to confess that I am a little bemused right now at what is going on. First of all, I am delighted that Edan Alexander, an American Jew who is 21 years old and was serving in the Israeli army, has just been released by Hamas, who are, of course, acting as they always do, utterly cynically. And I am relieved for him, for his family, that he had a watch party actually in America, in New Jersey, in his hometown. And there he is. He's being, he's just been handed over to the infamous Red Cross. And of course, I am utterly relieved for his family, for his friends, for his community. And this, as in and of itself, is of course something we should celebrate. Additionally, I'm not going to say however, but additionally, there has been some serious concerns around some of the posturing we're seeing from the Trump administration. They've been saying things recently like they're looking to renegotiate a deal with Iran. They're saying they kind of want Israel to stop, to end the war now with Hamas and just do a deal, seemingly almost like at any cost, to get the remaining hostages. And I do believe there are certain prices that are too high if it endangers the rest of Israel's security by doing a deal with the devil. And the thing that's most disturbing is that there's been reports that Edan is going to be flown to Qatar, where he's going to meet President Trump and the Emir of Qatar, which is utterly repulsive because let's not forget, as Aviva Klompas has pointed out here, it's very simple, okay? Qatar finances Hamas. Hamas tortured and held Edan hostage. Qatar then demands Edan come to thank them. Now, the fact that you could say, well, he's just meeting with Trump, who happens to be there. Why is Trump only there? Why isn't Trump coming to Israel? He's in the Middle East. It also seems like Netanyahu was a bit sidelined about Trump saying that, he wants to maybe get back a deal with Iran. It's all looking a little bit confusing, to say the least. But there's something repulsive here about saying we're going to bring him back to Qatar straight after he's being released. The mistake many people seem to make is in thinking that Qatar are in some ways benign, neutral, even maybe potentially a constructive force. Qatar act completely cynically. Let's not forget, they are the ones who house the Hamas leaders, okay? Here they were in Qatar celebrating the October 7th massacre, where Edan Alexander was kidnapped. And now people want you to believe he's an ally. They're an Islamist state. Qatar had a picture, let me see if I can get it up. They had a picture of Hania when he died on one of their buildings. I'll see if I can find it somewhere. I think it might have been in Doha when he died. Anyway, the point is that there is widespread support for Al Jazeera, for Islamism, and the notion that you think that Qatar are in any way good news is false. Emily Schrader said Edan's family confirms he will meet with President Trump and Emir of Qatar in Qatar. She said there's no words to describe how disgusting this is. Qatar is the regime which enabled Edan's captors and torturers to take him and hold him for 19 months. Shame on anyone condoning this disgraceful act. The last thing this poor boy needs is to be paraded around the Islamist dictatorship of Qatar like some trophy of Donald Trump. It's vile. Carlos Abadi, Edan needs medical treatment, therapy, and a stage entry back into society after some 584 days. Not a shock encounter with his captors. Let Khalid Mashal and Khalil al-Kaya eat the buffet they had prepared for Edan. Trump wants money from the Arab monarchies of the Persian Gulf, and they want to deal with Iran, so his old red lines of radical Islam and maximum pressure are quietly being erased by Qatari lobbyists embedded in his circle. Remember Pat Bondi, Trump's handpicked attorney general, as an impeachment lawyer? She was literally a registered lobbyist for Qatar. So there's question marks around all of this. Now, I'm not jumping to some big conclusions about Trump and Qatar, but there are certain points that are suggesting there's, questions to be asked about the direction that Trump is going in. We're also hearing at the encouragement of Erdogan, Trump is considering lifting sanctions on Syria to give them a fresh start. Now, so this may be at best strong naivety, but the naivety seems to me to be pretty disproportionate. I mean, this is the Mueller. It says Emily wrote the Mueller's favorite negotiator, Steve Witkoff, who seems like a perfectly decent guy. I don't agree with him that Israel should just end its war with Hamas. That there's no, Israel should basically just negotiate with terrorists and let them use the hostages as bargaining chips to get what they want. I think Israel should do what they need to do to finish the job. But here he is saying, look, watch what he says about the Iran, and that he's going to take them at their word if they said they won't pursue nuclear weapons anymore.
Well, we've stated our position. The Iranians cannot have a bomb, and they have stated back that they don't want one. So we're going to feel. They may attempt to manipulate.
Oh, sorry. Seems that we've slightly lost the connection here. I don't know if you can...
Well, it's just like Boucher. They may attempt. I don't think that they're going to be able to manipulate me. But an enrichment program can never exist in the state of Iran, ever again. And that's our red line. They may attempt to manipulate me. I don't think that they're going to be able to manipulate me.
Sorry, I know this sounds a little bit problematic there. Apologies for that. But he's saying that, he basically said, I don't think they're going to be able to manipulate me. They might attempt to, but we're going to take them at their word that they don't want a nuclear weapon. Now, again, it's just slightly off language. You can't take anything that Iran says at their word. Now, I'm saying this as someone that has been very impressed with a lot of Trump's decisions and policies and judgment, right? But I'm just simply... So for those who say, trust Trump, all that kind of stuff, he has a great track record. I'm not denying any of that. But I'm simply saying we have to take at face value sometimes some of the things that are being done and not jump to conclusions, but ask questions. That's all we're doing, is just asking questions. For those who want to say, Qatar, well, they're actually fine, there's no problem with them ultimately. Well, just to understand, Qatar has long positioned itself as a patron of political Islamist movements across the region, including the Muslim Brotherhood, of which Hamas is an offshoot. So by supporting Hamas, Qatar seeks to increase its regional clout, align with Islamist movements as a counterbalance to rivals like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE, who oppose such groups, and maintain leverage in key conflicts such as Gaza to act as a mediator or power broker. Number two, Qatar uses its ties to Hamas to play a dual role as a mediator and then as a Western ally, because Qatar then, can kind of say, well, we're going to help both sides. And then Qatar has also provided hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas-controlled Gaza under the guise of humanitarian aid, often with Israeli approval to avoid humanitarian collapse, which could further conflict nonetheless. But they are the ones ultimately choosing to give money to Hamas, much of which the money is seen to indirectly or directly bolster Hamas's ability to govern and to fund terror infrastructure. So by keeping Hamas financially dependent, Qatar maintains a degree of influence over the group, particularly its leadership. But I think it's important that we also understand that there's a level of nuance here. So let's just have a look at something Hillel Fuld wrote that I want all the viewers to really appreciate now about nuance, okay? No one is making any blanket statements about Trump or about what's going on here. We're just asking questions. Hillel Fuld said, I'm sick and tired of internet trolls who live in a black and white world. Enough already. This isn't a game. This is real life. Real life is messy. I can't believe how quickly you're turning on Trump. Shut up, he says. I can't believe you still trust Trump. Ditto. I can't believe you didn't see how horrible Bibi is. I can't believe you sold out and turned on Bibi. You're exhausting. Would you stop with this stupid immature I told you so? Stop trying to label me or anyone else. I've spoken about this 100 times. Nuance. It's not always black and white. Trump has been a strong friend to Israel, and Trump is now doing some very questionable things in the past few weeks as it pertains to Israel. These two things can coexist. They do coexist. Just because I'm repulsed by the report that Trump is bringing Edan to Qatar doesn't mean I'm turning on Trump or that I'm dismissing everything he's done till now. Just because I'm questioning why Trump is accepting a $400 million gift from the world's biggest supporter of terror doesn't mean I don't appreciate some of the things he's said and done. Stop trying to have a court you moment. I know Trump has a love for Israel and the Jewish people. I know his ambassador does too. And I also know that if Trump signed a deal with the Houthis and the Saudis without Israel being a part of it, that's extremely disturbing and makes me question what his priorities are. The same is true for Netanyahu. I can believe he's an incredible diplomat and a brilliant man and still think that after the war is over, he should take accountability for what happened on his watch. I can admit that he's been in office longer than any person should be in office and still recognise and appreciate the incredible things Israel has accomplished under his leadership. Don't people realise that playing this black and white game is feeding right into the social media algorithms? Life is not black and white. Politics is not black and white. If you can't admit that Trump has done amazing things for Israel, then you're not being honest. And if you can't admit that some of his latest moves are worrisome from Israel's perspective, you're also not being honest. If you can't admit that Bibi is a brilliant man with a level of intelligence that we've seen once in a generation, you're not being honest. If you can't admit that he has to take accountability for what transpired under his watch, then you're also not being honest. Every time I write about anything, I get both sides attacking me. I thank the IDF and I get, what about Hashem? Why do you mention Hashem? I thank Hashem and I get, oh, the IDF has no part of this. It's literally so draining. If Trump negotiated the release of Edan as we assume he did, and without any concessions by Israel, then we owe him a thank you. If he did it by promising Hamas and or Qatar things without getting Israel's consent, that is betrayal. I am reading now that the Alexander family clarified that President Trump and the Emir of Qatar want Edan to meet him in Qatar, but everything is subject to Edan's wishes. And according to his medical condition only. That makes me feel a tad bit better. But anyway, can everyone just focus on what's important and not on calling each other's names and labeling each other? I rarely ever lose in on X, but a few minutes ago I did. Some random pro-Israel person in Florida replied to my tweet about Trump bringing Edan to Qatar by saying that I want Edan to rot in the tunnels, because if I'm not okay with Trump parading around a former hostage, then that must mean I want him to remain in Hamas captivity. Disgusting. But it reminds me of the people who want Netanyahu to step down, saying that he doesn't want the hostages back home. Just disgusting. If you think there's anyone in this country, let alone the Prime Minister, who doesn't want them back, you're delusional. Netanyahu wants them back, and Netanyahu has done more than anyone in this country to bring them back. What exactly did those people yelling about Bibi do? They stomped their feet like children. Life is complicated. Politics is complicated. Can we all just stop trying to oversimplify it by labeling everyone who disagrees with us? Just for 1 second, put away your disdain for Trump and think what he's dealing with right now. A trade agreement with China, preventing a war between India and Pakistan, trying to achieve an agreement between Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Hamas, nuclear talks with Iran, internal politics and constant threats from all directions. The list goes on. Stop it already, it's enough. He's doing the best he can, he's making mistakes along the way, just like Netanyahu and just like any other human being. Mistakes happen. Netanyahu isn't evil. Trump isn't evil. And guess what else? Trump and Netanyahu can disagree about issues without there being any drama about Trump cutting ties with Israel. The Israel-America relationship is just fine, so everyone can just calm the heck down. I long for the day where people can have nuanced discussions on the internet without labels and name-calling. Can we all just grow up a little and stop with the childish nonsense? Wow, that felt good to get off my chest. I think one of the big things is that we don't really know the full story right now about all these things we've been seeing in the last few weeks. So time will really tell. Time will tell about what is going to take place moving forward. But I do want to get to your questions now in this live. And thank you everyone so much for tuning in. So let's see what some of the commentators and your comments have said. We got Mika. Let's put this up here so maybe it's a little bit easier to see. Actually, maybe I'll move it there. I think that's a nice spot. Right. Milka, sorry, not Mika, Milka. I don't know why people are so surprised and puzzled. Never ever put your trust in men. Trump is only tool in God's hand, as we are all. Absolutely. You know, the rabbis of the Talmud tell us that we have free will, except political leaders. And when they're making political decisions, their hearts are managed by the King of Kings. So it's important to remember that. Absolutely. James Heather said Trump said there's been no concessions made for Alexander's release except for Israel to ensure he is able to leave safely. Israel and the US played Hamas. Stop. Terrorists aren't geniuses. I hope that's correct. Maybe, you know, and every single life is worth an infinite amount. The concern that some people have is whether there's some kind of bribery that's going on, some kind of fooling that's happening here. Susie Glucksman said Trump cannot be trusted to be a reliable ally to Israel. He is not a serious person. Look, many people would disagree with that, Susie, but of course you're entitled to your opinion. Let's see what else we got. Carol Mack said Trump is too inconsistent, something off here. Why accept the plane from Qatar? That's something that many people are asking. He actually addressed that recently. He said, you know, why shouldn't I? I'm quite surprised by that move, especially for, I think it was for Air Force One, right? That's, you know, surely a very patriotic kind of thing. Why would you want to have that as being gifted from Qatar? It's a surprising move. Let's see what other comments we have. Jay says, this is a snare. God, open up Trump's eyes and let him see what you want him to see. This is easy to trust from a lawless country. We have Elizabeth A. Brandenburg saying, it sounds like a positive media spin for the Qatar government. After all, they are really no different from Hamas in parading this young man and his family's reunification, maybe to get out the hostages. Now, look, they've said, the family said it's entirely up to Edan, and ultimately it's for him to meet with Trump. But I have to say, it's definitely a bit of a far cry from a few months ago when Trump was saying all the hostages, no more dribs and drabs or else. And now we're getting one. Of course, that's to be celebrated that one has been released, but seemingly with no preconditions. If that's the case, then obviously great. But what exactly is going on? We have to see. Let's take a couple more of your comments. Golden Gun says nothing is off. Hamas is hoping this can lead to their demands being met. That is all. If so, well, that's great. Because, you know, every life is infinitely valuable and a universe. So, you know, if they think that they're just doing it because it will help their aims, and Israel won't let it help their aims, then it just means another hostage freed. Cassie says, I wish Israel could see how corrupt Netanyahu is. The Israeli people are wonderful, but Netanyahu is evil and corrupt. Well, that's what Hillel Ford was saying is kind of language we need to get away from. These strong cartoon caricatures of people like Netanyahu, which I think, I'm afraid, Cassie, I disagree with. You might not like everything he does or doesn't do, but to say that he is evil, I think is just... there's just no... there's no evidence to justify such a strong accusation. You might say misguided, you might argue you don't like his policies, but evil, I think he certainly wants to see peace, to see the hostages released. You know, ultimately, even if he was entirely self-focused and cared about his own political career, he'd care about having the right legacy. So prolonging these things and potentially causing more death and more harm is not good for his legacy. So let's see a few other comments. Victoria thinks Trump is too smart to fly in that bird. Okay, well, we'll see. And Yitzi says, this is less about specifics and more in general pure Pauline antinomian Christianity believes in God's promise to Abraham, and Islam believes the followers are... Not quite sure what you're trying to get across here. But thank you for your comment nonetheless. And let's see what else we have. Oh, Godspeed sent $50 from a fan character jumping in the air in front of a big heart with pom-pom in their hands. I'm assuming that's an emoji you might have sent. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support. That's really, really deeply, deeply appreciated. And And we've got a comment from Susie who's saying, I don't think either are evil. Trump is unserious and easily swayed. Brilliant. Well, look, thank you so much, everyone, for your comments and for your thoughts on this. I think there's a lot to think about, and, we're going to have to kind of watch this space. One of the last comments we see is this war is taking too long. Yes, I agree. And I think one of the problems is, and maybe this is why America is getting a bit frustrated with Israel, is Trump is putting out plans for a long-term vision for what Gaza should look like. But is Netanyahu, is Israel? So they're thinking, what's your long-term plan? You're not giving us one. You're saying, okay, we want to get rid of Hamas. Okay, great. You want to get back the hostages. Okay, great. But then what next? What's your longer-term vision? And Trump's trying to push things out there, but Netanyahu is... and he's classical in this sense. I think his intentions are good, but he seems to kind of be a bit of a manage the status quo type guy. He's not prepared to agree with Trump and push that policy forward. Instead, he's kind of managing. Maybe he's got forces that he needs to manage at home that stop him from doing that. But ultimately, he's not giving a longer term vision for what Gaza's going to look like. It's it's not clear who's going to control it, who's not, what's going to be. Is Israel going to be present there? Is Israel not? And I can imagine that frustrating them. The whole thing, the war, everything taking too long. It's time that Israel's more decisive and more comprehensive in the things they do about the whole Palestinian issue. Those are my final comments. So I really appreciate all of you for watching, for being part of JTV. This community is just fantastic. And I also like to let you know about something that is launching very soon. And that is going to be JTV Plus. Yes, you heard it here first. JTV Plus. This is going to be, I'm hoping to release it in the next few weeks. It's going to be like a mini JTV Netflix, where basically for a membership, if you join up the membership program every month, we're going to provide you with exclusive, additional premium content on JTV. It's going to be documentaries, exclusive interviews, behind the scenes access with me, and it will also allow you to support the channel and allow us to grow at an even faster rate. So I'd love to know your thoughts, by the way, in the comment section on that concept. I'm really excited about the launch. We've got some mini documentaries already basically ready to go, including a few narrated by me diving into fascinating stories in Jewish history. But that is the plan moving forward. We're going to be launching that. And it also means that we're not going to be entirely dependent on YouTube or any big tech, because, as you know, censoring is a bit of a ongoing concern and issue. So yeah, that's JTV Plus. We're going to be launching soon. Watch this space. We'll be putting the links out for that soon, and we're really hoping it's going to provide some real value content for people. But if you have any particular thoughts on the kind of things you'd want from that kind of platform, do let me know. It's going to be covering all kinds of things, from things to do with Israel, Judaism, Jewish philosophy, current affairs, anti-Semitism, the whole works. But yes, thank you so much, all of you, for watching. Let's be grateful that Edan Alexander is being returned to his family. We cannot begin to imagine the hell that he has been through and going through. And all I can say is I wish the very best to him and to his family, and that he can have a complete recovery physically, mentally. And of course, we all wish and pray every single day that all of the hostages, every single one of them, are freed, released, or rescued immediately. Amen.